And a good Wednesday morning to you. This weather video is driven by 802 Cars. They represent 802 Toyota Twin Cities Subaru and 802 Honda, all located off of Exit 7 on Interstate 89 in the Green Mountain State. We got a full disc here, and we're looking at the day by day here, every 60 minutes, a photo being snapped by the Go 16, and you can see a lot of things with that. Generally, the weather pattern is such that we've had this area of higher pressure and conditions kind of working your way around it. We have a kind of a tropical system here, and a lot of that moisture is now worked up into the southern Texas coast, the Gulf Coast region. It looks like that is not going to interfere with us, however, as we have an area of higher pressure that's building in, and this is going to lock things down for a change. We're looking at probably 3, possibly 3.5 days of dry weather, and this all starts as early as Thursday afternoon. 500 hectopascal thicknesses. You can see that it's almost a zonal flow for a change. That is Pacific jet stream driving east, and a little bit of more of a west-northwesterly flow still showing up here. This is convective available potential energy. This is where thunderstorms form, and indeed we have a few thunderstorms where temperatures are warm enough. Looking at the temperature schematic here, this is kind of how things shape up. You can see that it's warm enough to see temperatures in the 80s already this morning. Dew point temperatures probably illustrate where the moisture is the heaviest. And again, this is where that convective available potential energy is. That's all going to stay to our south. We have no thunderstorm worries up through probably Monday afternoon, Monday evening into Tuesday. That'll be our next worry here in terms of any kind of concerns for utilities. Now, it does look like we're going to see clearing conditions develop upstream. An area of higher pressure will build in, and this is going to force things to, well, give us 3 days of dry weather. It's phenomenal. Weather belt presentation is pretty good because we have 2 model runs side by side here. This is from yesterday, produced actually in the morning hours. This was produced overnight, late last night, so this is the most closest run here. So what we can see here is precipitation, one more surge coming in out of the eastern Great Lakes here, and this arrives tonight. Then the tail end of that gets in here during the morning hours, and look at that. We start to dry out for northern parts of Vermont. This is valid about 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday, and precipitation is out of here. Things improve, and we got, look at this, dry weather upstream. It's amazing almost. We just have not had anything like this at all, as high pressure will be in control. Now, our next weather system, you can see those 2 models side by side, and they're fairly in good agreement right now. It looks like we're going to see some moisture kind of sneak in, but that's not until Monday afternoon. That's a long ways around the corner, and then beyond that period, we get into a big surge of moisture, and we're back into a little bit of a rainier pattern, but not as consistently, and that's the good news at this point. GFS Ensemble, a 3-hour particular quantitative precipitation forecast. You can see basically 2 storms, and that's what's going to be falling late tonight into the morning hours tomorrow. Then we see some improvement, and this is way down the road. Looks like after this weekend. A little bit of a hint here, but this is relatively old. GFS Ensemble is in really nice agreement. That said, a pretty decent amount of rain, almost 1 inch. This is again centered on Montpelier, and this is pretty much pretty good for the entire state as it looks right now. Precipitable water metric shown here, and you can see about 1.4 inches. This is about 1 to 2 standard deviations. And we have another pretty good setup here that's coming on Monday or so, and by the European, at this point in time, lower confidence, but it looks like somewhere around 2 to 3 standard deviations of moisture working in next Monday into the first part of Tuesday before it gets swept out by a cold front. That'll more than likely trigger showers and thunderstorms. Let's take a look at some CAPE, convective available potential energy. Once again, this is a metric of instability. A little bit of instability during that period of dry weather, but no real issues and nothing to write home about. A look at dew point temperatures. You can see that we dry out. Dew points fall into the 40s. This is going to be fabulous drying weather. And the overall trends that we start to creep that back up as we head toward the 10th, 11th, and so forth. Looking at actual temperatures, you can see a nice little uptick here right into Sunday and into Monday, so this is fairly good news here as temperatures are going to finally warm up just a bit, and this has been pretty much advertised now for over a week. Wind issues are nil, nothing up to 50 knots or greater for any kind of elevated wind issue. And as looking at the precipitable water metric and dew point metric as well, this is relative humidity, and what you can see is that during the daylight hours, once we get into especially Friday and beyond, we're looking at low relative humidities. This is going to be just what the doctor ordered with a decent evaporation. Weather Prediction Center, this is the next 7-day total amount of rainfall. You can see just north of the Vermont border, 0.25 of an inch total for the next 7 days. So very dry across Canada, but not quite into Vermont. We have this kind of a storm track, and indeed, this is what we're seeing currently right today, as well as into the morning hours tomorrow. And then eventually we're going to see more additional rainfall work in, but that's not until basically Monday afternoon into Tuesday. Meteorological output statistics, MOS. This is the mean maximum temperatures for the next 5 days. You can see that we actually go above normal, which is unusual, and then near normal as we cool back off just a little bit. That's extended 3 to 7 days out. 2-meter temperature anomalies from the Climate Reanalyzer. Great website. Let's change things up here, and we can see that the West Coast is warming up, and that includes the upper Midwest, a little bit into Vermont here in the Northeast. That's going to be on the increase, and it looks like the Canadian coolness, again with high latitude blocking, especially over Greenland with a negative NAO, with a jet stream kind of dipping on down. This is going to gradually change, but I don't see the overall weather pattern going into a major change. And unfortunately, we still have a 7-day cycle. And when that 7-day cycle begins to become dampened out, at that point in time, it does look like we'll have a pattern change, but we're not quite there yet. So what does that mean? Probably cooler than normal temperatures continue off and on with weather oscillations into the rest of June. That's it from here. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights.